We are doing supply today, but I quickly reviewed demand the other time. I said demand is for consumers. The quantity of goods and services we are able and willing to buy at a given period of time with a price. So there's no demand if we are not happy buying that we consumers. But today we need to talk about what we buy. How do we get them bought? That means somebody out there would have produced it. Because if they've not produced, we can't buy. Yes or no? So that means there was a production that made us become a consumer. So without production, there will never be people like us to buy. So that is what we call supply. So what is supply? Supply is the number of goods producers are willing and able to produce at a given price and time. So the number of goods we producers are able to produce willingly, and we have the ability to produce them at a given price and at a particular period of time, is what we call supply. So supply is basically for who? Producers. I think we understand the definition for supply here. The number of goods, the total number of goods and services we producers or firms are willing to produce at a given price and time. That is what we call what? Supply. So supply has its own law, like demand. So what is the law of supply? What do we mean by the law of supply? We meant what does supply entails. So how do we go about this supply? We go about supply because the suppliers, the producers, they have their own mindset. They have their own way of doing things too. Like we have our mindset, they have too. We always think about when the price is low to buy more. And they also think about when the price is high to produce more. So we have different mindsets. The mindset of the producers are different from the mindset of the consumers. Because we have different targets based on our budgets. So what is the law of supply? The law of supply states what? The higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. And the lower the price, the lower the quantity supplied. So when the price of a product is high, producers tend to supply more for that product. But when the price is low, they supply less. Why is it so? Remember in demand, when the price is high, we don't buy. We buy less. But when the price is low, we buy more of the product. So it's a vice thing now. It's an opposite thing here, demand and supply. So for supply, why do producers supply less when prices are low? What makes them to supply less of a product when the price is low? What are the reasons? Look at what I said. I said producers supply less because they try to ensure the goods become scarce so as to increase the search for such products. And as a result, they can increase the price to make more revenue. So they have their mindset. So because the price is becoming low in the market, when the price is low, they can't make huge revenue. They will make less revenue. You get the point? Maybe they used to sell this marker for $1. The price increases to maybe $4. They will produce more of that product. But maybe they used to sell for $4. Now the price has fallen to $2. They will want to produce less. Why are they producing less? They want this marker to become scarce in the market. They want the market to become what? Scarce in the market. So when the market becomes scarce in the market, we won't be able to see to buy. So when we don't see it to buy, we start the search for the marker. Oh, we can't find it, we can't find it. So because we are searching for that marker now to buy, the price becomes what? High. They will increase the price. Because you search, I search, everyone is searching for it. Then I will be willing to pay any price to get it. Because when we need certain products or when we need certain service, we pay more for those things. Because we need them more now. Unlike when they were so much in the market. But when goods are scarce, the prices will increase. The price does not just increase, it increases naturally because you or me who can afford to buy will buy. We won't care about the price anymore. We care about the usage, we care about the consumption. So whatever price they call it, we want to buy it. So producers know that when prices fall, the only way to increase the price is to make sure that the products are not available in the market. Do we understand the logic here? So the higher the price, the higher the quantity supply. Because when they supply more of a product, the revenue increases. They can make huge revenue, which will lead to making profit or maximizing profit. But when the price is less, when the price falls, they make less revenue. And less revenue will only lead to what? Less profit made. Do we understand it here now? So let's look at a typical supply curve. The price and the quantity supplied. Look at the typical graph of supply. Here we have prices of 10, 20, and 30. So the law of supply is really here already, saying what? When the price is 10, the quantity supplied by a firm is 10. When the price increases further to 20, the quantity supplied is what? 20. And now the price is 30. The quantity did what? To 30. So the supply curve, when the price is high, the quantity supply is what? High. So it's what? It's an upward slope. What do I call it? Upward what? Slope. Upward slope. So the supply curve is what? Upward slope. Unlike the demand curve. The demand curve is what? Downward slope. Because it is only when the price is low that you can have this quantity. A fall in price in demand will lead to what? An increase in the quantity demanded. But here in supply, a rise in the price of a product will lead to what? An increase in the quantity supplied. So that's why we have it as upward. So the supply curve is always what? The supply curve is always what? Upward. And the demand curve is what? Downward. Do we understand it? So this is how a typical demand or supply curve looks like. When the price is high, the quantity supply increases. When the price falls, the quantity supply falls. Is it clear? Any question about this? So let's look at the causes of shift and movement in supply. There's nothing constant in life, same as supply or demand. There's always a change, because change is the only constant thing. So let's see how changes have occurred in supply. So changes occur in supply either by what? A shift or movement. So what is a shift in supply? Okay, let's talk about movement first. I said movement in supply is as a result of a change in price of a product. So what is a change in price of a product? An increase in the price of a product or a decrease in the price of a product? So an increase in the price of a product will make supply to what? To expand. Because we said the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. So an increase in the price of a product will expand supply, while a fall in the price of a product will contract supply. So producers supply less when the price is what? Producers supply less of a product when the price is high or less or fall. Producers, they supply more of a product. Is it when the price falls or when the price is high? High, right? Are you sure?
No. Producers,
they produce more of a product. They supply more of a product when the price is falling or when the price is high. When the price is what? When the price is high, they supply more. Quantity supply is high. When the price is high, the quantity supply is at the highest when the price is at the highest. The quantity supply is at the lowest when the price is what? The quantity supply is at the lowest and the price is at the lowest. Do you get it now? Okay. So a movement in supply is as a result of a change in price. A change in price can be a falling price or a rise in price. So a rise in price will expand the quantity supplied, but a fall in price will contract the quantity supplied. Based on the law we say here. Is that clear? So we go on to the shift. How do we talk about shift? What is a shift? A shift in supply is as a result of what? A non-pricing factor. That's a factor that is not about price. So what are those factors that are not price? Taxation, subsidies, rising or falling production costs. So these ones are not because of price. These are externals. Are you getting what I'm saying here? Here is about price. When there's a change in price, there is a movement in supply. But when there is a change in the non-pricing factor, there's what? A shift in supply. A shift could be a rightward shift or a leftward shift, which I'm going to graphically represent when I work this side. So let's look at taxation here. How does taxation have an effect in the quantity supply? And what is taxation itself? Taxation is a levy imposed by government to consumers or producers based on what they are producing or based on what they are consuming. So the amount of money we pay is a levy that government has imposed on us that we must pay because we are producing goods or because we are consuming. That's taxation. So how does this affect the quantity supply? It affects the quantity supply. Let's check. An increase in taxation could possibly reduce the profit of firms, which might lead to low production, shifting supply curve leftward. So when taxation increases, you are going to pay tax from the profit you make. Yes or no? So when you pay tax from the profit you make, is your profit increasing or reducing? When you pay tax from the profit you make as a firm, when you pay taxation from it, or when the taxation you are paying increases, does it increase your profit or reduces your profit? Yes. It reduces your profit. So because it reduces your profit, you might be demotivated to produce more. Do we understand? Now you're not making the profit as you used to make. So this could lead to what? A leftward shift in the supply curve. This could lead to what? A low production. Yes. Do we understand how taxation could? So let's check subsidies. What is subsidy? Subsidy is just an opposite of taxation. So subsidy is a government financial incentive to help producers so that it can take away so much cost from them. So what is subsidy? Look, a financial incentive from government. Financial incentive from government could encourage producers to produce more as profit could be maximized, shifting supply curve rightward. Taxation will shift, increase in taxation will shift supply curve leftward, meaning production will fall, supply will fall. But subsidy, government giving producers some incentives so that they can produce products will what? Shift supply curve rightward. This will encourage them to produce more because they can make profit, because their costs will reduce. It's just like you having a company and government giving you money for production. Won't you be happy about it? Yes. You will be encouraged, you will be motivated to produce more. Yes or no? Yes. Will you want to close your company when you know government is there for you? Do we understand here now? And the third one, rising or falling production cost. What is production cost? The cost at which we incur to make sure that the production is available. The cost at which we are able to get this marker produced. The cost at which we are able to get this bottled water produced. The cost at which we are able to get these services done. That is production cost. So a rise in production cost, that means the amount you spend in making sure production is available. If it increases, your supply curve will shift leftward. Do you get it here? But if the cost falls, your supply curve will shift rightward because you will be able to produce more with less cost. So an increase or a rise in cost of production could shift supply curve leftward. While what? A fall in cost of production will shift supply curve rightward. Do you understand leftward and rightward here? So can I go this side? So let me represent those things or those information here. So now look at the supply curve. We said taxation, subsidies, and rising or falling production costs. Let's say this is our supply curve. Remember, supply curve is what? Upward slope, right? Okay. So this is price. This is the quantity supply. So for taxation, increase in taxation could reduce our profit as a firm. So when it reduces the profit we make as a firm, we might be demotivated to produce further, which means supply might be less or fall. So when supply falls, what happens to our supply? Let's say this is our S. It becomes, it's like what? Low supply, shifting supply curve leftward. So from S, it will be what? A leftward shift to S1. This is S0. Do you understand? So a shift in supply, taxation could reduce the taxation. What happens to our supply? An increase in taxation could lead to what? A leftward shift in the supply curve. Let me draw it so well. Nice. Let's see. So there's our supply. So here, shift S1. This is always a leftward shift. And what does this imply? It implies that what, there's a fall or there's a low supply from the producers. Do we get it? So let's look at taxation. Subsidies now. We said subsidies was a financial incentive from government. So if government are able to finance our projects, if government are able to finance our production, we will be able to produce more. We will be motivated to produce more. As we are motivated to produce more, our supply curve will shift rightward or leftward. When we are able to produce more. What? Rightward. Why is it rightward or leftward now? When we are able to produce more.
Oh yeah, right.
So subsidy will shift our supply curve what? Rightward. So from S1 to what? S2. Do we understand? So this is as a result of subsidy. This is as a result of what? Taxation. Do we get it? So taxation, an increase in taxation could shift supply curve leftward. Subsidies could increase or could shift our supply curve rightward. So a rise or falling production cost. A rise in production cost will do what? Will shift supply curve leftward or rightward? A rise in production cost. A rise in production cost. When the production cost, what is production cost? The cost at which you produce goods and services. When it increases, does it shift your supply curve left or right? Leftward. Because when your production cost increases, your revenue will fall. Are we getting it? So a rise in production cost will shift supply curve leftward. But a fall in production cost will mean that you can make more revenue, which could lead to what? Profit. And that will do what? Will shift supply curve rightward. Do we get it? So here, a raise in production cost. Taxation. Increase in taxation. Increase in taxation. A rise in production cost will shift supply curve this way. And rightward will be what? Subsidies. Subsidies. What else? A fall in production cost. So a fall in production cost will shift your supply curve where? Rightward. Subsidy will shift your supply curve where? Rightward. Is it clear? So this is all about supply. Any question about this?